Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is he's not waiting for your tears, your apologies, or your promises. He's waiting for something deeper. And until you prove it, he won't come back. What pulls a man back isn't the pain he sees in you, it's the strength he sees in you. And the hardest part to accept is this: it's not your love that will bring him back, it's who you become in his absence. There comes a moment in every love story when silence speaks louder than words. When the person you love, the one you thought would never leave, steps back, creating a distance so heavy that it feels like your heart is carrying the weight of the world. And in that silence, in that distance, you begin to wonder, what will bring him back? What will make him choose me again? But here's the truth: he won't come back until you prove something, and it's not what you think. It's not how much you love him. It's not how many tears you've cried. It's not even how badly you miss him. He already knows all of that. What he needs to see is you proving that you can stand on your own, that your heart may ache, but it will not break you, that your worth isn't tied to his presence, and your light doesn't dim just because he walked away. He won't come back until you prove that you are not afraid of losing him, because only then does he realize that your love is a choice, not a prison. Only then does he see that you don't need him, you want him, and there's nothing more attractive, nothing more irresistible than a woman who chooses love from strength rather than fear. Self-worth comes first. That's where everything begins, and that's what he's secretly waiting to see in you. Because the truth is, love doesn't survive when one person loses themselves in the other. When you place him above yourself, when you make his presence the source of your identity, it doesn't feel like love to him. It feels like pressure, and no one wants to return to pressure. He won't come back until he can see that you value yourself more than you value keeping him. Think about it this way: when you first met, there was something about you that drew him in. It wasn't just the way you looked, or the way you laughed. It was that quiet confidence, that energy that said, "I know who I am, with or without you." You carried yourself with a sense of self-worth that made him admire you, want to be near you, want to earn your attention. That version of you was magnetic, not because you needed him, but because you chose him. And that choice came from strength, not desperation. But somewhere along the way, fear creeps in. Fear of losing him, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. And when fear takes over, you start bending. You tolerate things you said you never would. You silence your own needs to avoid conflict. You wait by the phone, replaying every word he said, as if your whole world depends on the next text, the next call, the next breadcrumb of attention. And that's when he feels the shift. That's when the woman he was drawn to begins to disappear, replaced by someone who is trying too hard to hold on. And here's the cruel ironies: the more you give up your worth for him, the less he feels pulled toward you. Because what makes someone stay, what makes someone want to return, isn't your willingness to sacrifice yourself. It's your ability to hold on to yourself even when you love him. It's the courage to say, "I love you deeply, but I love myself enough to not beg for what should be freely given." Men respect what you respect. If you show him that your value is negotiable, he'll treat it as such. But if you prove, through your actions, that you see yourself as precious, as someone who deserves consistency, love, and care, he begins to see you differently again. He sees that you are not waiting for him to validate your existence. You already know your worth. And that's when he feels the weight of possibly losing you. It's not about being cold, and it's not about pretending you don't care. It's about showing him that your world doesn't collapse without him in it. That your heart may long for him, but your life continues with or without his presence. When you wake up in the morning and still chase your goals, when you smile without needing him to create the moment, when you choose peace over chaos, that's proof. Proof that you are whole. Proof that you are not defined by his choices. Proof that you will not abandon yourself just to keep him close. And when he sees that, something inside him shifts. He begins to remember the woman who inspired him, who challenged him, who carried herself with dignity. He realizes that the very thing that drew him to you in the first place is alive again, your self-worth. And that realization is what makes him question the distance he created. That realization is what makes him wonder if he's about to lose something rare, something he may never find again. Because self-worth is not just attractive, it's irresistible. Emotional independence is the quiet power that changes everything in a relationship. When he pulls away, what he's subconsciously watching for is how you handle the space between you. Do you fall apart when he's gone, or do you stand strong in your own life? Because the truth is, he won't come back if he feels like your entire happiness is chained to his presence. That doesn't feel like love to him. It feels like responsibility, and responsibility without freedom feels like a burden. When a man senses that your emotions rise and fall depending on what he does, he begins to feel trapped. If his text determines your mood for the entire day, if his silence makes you collapse into self-doubt, if his return is the only thing that can make you feel whole again, he realizes that you're no longer standing on your own ground. And no one wants to be the sole pillar holding up another person's emotional world. It's too heavy, too much, and instead of drawing him back, it pushes him further away. But imagine the opposite. Imagine he pulls away and you allow yourself to feel the ache without letting it consume you. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't crumble, you continue living. You go to work, you laugh with friends, you invest in your passions, you take care of yourself. Not because you don't care, but because you refuse to let someone else hold the keys to your peace. That kind of independence doesn't say, I don't love you. It says, I love myself enough to keep going, and paradoxically, that's what makes him see you in a different light. Men are drawn to women who can love deeply but still stand independently. It's the balance of devotion and self-sufficiency. It tells him that if he comes back, it's not because you can't live without him, it's because you choose to live with him. That choice is powerful. It removes the desperation from love and replaces it with strength. Love born out of neediness feels suffocating, but love born out of independence feels freeing. And that's the kind of love he wants to return to. Think about when you first met. You weren't waiting for him to rescue you. You had a life, a sense of purpose, your own spark. That's what attracted him. It was the independence in your spirit. But when that independence fades and he becomes the oxygen you breathe, he doesn't feel inspired, he feels pressured. And pressure makes people retreat. Emotional independence means you can miss him and still not lose yourself. You can want him without chasing him. You can love him without abandoning your own needs. It means you are whole and he is an addition to your wholeness, not the completion of it. That energy shifts everything. When he sees you continuing to thrive even in his absence, when he notices that your world doesn't collapse just because he stepped back, he begins to respect you again. He sees strength where he might have expected weakness. And respect is the root of desire. He won't come back until you prove this truth that you can stand emotionally on your own 2 feet. That his presence enriches your life but doesn't define it. That your heart is open to him but not enslaved by him. When he feels that your joy, your confidence, and your identity are intact regardless of his choices, that's when he feels safe to return. Not because he pities you, but because he admires you. Because emotional independence tells him that your love is not a chain, it's an invitation. And that invitation is far too powerful for him to resist. Boundaries are not walls that keep love out. They are the lines that protect your dignity while allowing love to stay alive. When someone pulls away, the most powerful thing you can show isn't how much you want them back. It's how much you refuse to let yourself be treated in ways that diminish you. Boundaries are the silent language of self-respect, and they speak louder than any confession of love. He won't come back until he feels that you have drawn those lines clearly, because without them, love loses its depth and meaning. When you allow someone to drift in and out of your life without consistency, when you accept silence instead of clarity, when you let excuses replace accountability, what you're teaching him is that your love doesn't require effort. And the painful truth is this: People rarely value what comes too cheaply. Love without boundaries feels endless, but in reality, it drains you. You find yourself giving, forgiving, tolerating, hoping. And all the while, he is learning that he doesn't need to rise to meet your needs. Why would he if you've proven that your heart will accept less than it deserves? Think back to the beginning when he pursued you. He didn't just fall for your smile or your presence. He was drawn to the way you carried yourself, the way you made it clear, without even saying a word, that you had standards. He wanted to win you over because he sensed that you would not give your heart to someone who didn't show up. That unspoken boundary made you magnetic. But over time, if those standards fade and you begin to allow inconsistency just to keep him near, you unknowingly remove the very thing that once kept his respect intact. Boundaries are not ultimatums, and they are not punishment. They are proof that you know your value, saying no to disrespect, refusing to chase silence, not allowing yourself to be an option when you deserve to be a priority. These are the ways you show him that your love comes with honor. And paradoxically, it is that strength that makes love worth coming back to. Because when a man knows you will not tolerate being taken for granted, he sees that your love isn't just affection, it's a gift he has to cherish or risk losing forever. There is a part of him, even if he doesn't say it, that is testing whether your boundaries are real. He may push, he may pull, he may withdraw, just to see how you respond. If every time he disappears you welcome him back without question, without pause, without even a conversation about how it made you feel, then the message is clear. He can walk in and out without consequence. But if he sees that you pause, that you step back, that you let your silence speak where words are not respected, then he feels something powerful. He feels that being in your life is a privilege, not a guarantee. And that feeling is what draws him closer. Because no man wants to return to someone who has no boundaries. There is no challenge, no respect, no sense of value in that. But when he sees that your boundaries are firm, that you can love him while still demanding respect, he is reminded of the woman who first captured his heart, the woman who didn't beg, who didn't tolerate half love, who held her head high. That's the woman he feels compelled to come back to, not because she chased him, but because she proved that her love is strong enough to honor herself first. Confidence in absence is one of the most powerful signals you can ever send in love. When he pulls away, the instinctive reaction is to chase, to reach out, to try to close the gap before it grows too wide. But what truly shifts his perception isn't how hard you fight to hold on, it's how gracefully you stand when he steps back. He won't come back until he feels that your strength is not dependent on his constant presence, that your confidence doesn't shatter just because he is no longer within arm's reach. Absence creates a stage where your true energy reveals itself. Do you crumble, obsess, and lose yourself, or do you remain grounded, focused, and radiant even when he isn't there? The way you carry yourself in the silence is often louder than any words you could send. When you radiate stability and calm, when you continue to move through your life with grace, it sends him a clear message. I want you here, but I don't need you here to stand tall. That kind of confidence is magnetic because it's rare. Many people think love is about constant reassurance, constant togetherness, constant affirmation. But real attraction lives in the space where two people can breathe, where two people can be apart without losing the essence of who they are. When he senses that your confidence survives the distance, that your identity doesn't dissolve in his absence, he begins to feel a pull back towards you. Because men aren't drawn to need, they're drawn to strength wrapped in vulnerability. The combination of, I love you, but I'm still whole without you, is what creates the kind of dynamic that lasts. Think about it. When you first met, he didn't fall in love with someone who clung desperately to him. He was intrigued by your confidence, the way you carried yourself, the way your presence lit up a room without needing validation. That independence was part of your allure. But when someone pulls away and you lose that confidence, when you start doubting yourself, questioning your worth, chasing answers you can't force, you lose the very thing that once captivated him. And without realizing it, your fear of losing him becomes the reason he stays away. Confidence in absence doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It doesn't mean shutting down your heart or building walls. It means you can care, you can love, you can even miss him deeply. But you don't let that longing erase your center. You still wake up and pursue your goals. You still laugh, still find beauty in your life, still radiate the energy that makes you uniquely you. It's a quiet but powerful statement, I am still me, even if you are not here. And that is what makes him respect you again. Because here's the truth, a man comes back not when he feels needed, but when he feels inspired. And nothing inspires him more than watching a woman stand strong in his absence. When you remain confident, when you don't lose your sparkle just because he stepped back, he begins to remember why he was drawn to you in the first place. He sees that your love is not born of fear, but of choice. And that choice becomes irresistible when he looks back and sees that you didn't chase, that you didn't break, that you didn't let his absence define your worth. He feels the weight of what he walked away from. That strength, that calm confidence, becomes the silent force that pulls him back, not because you begged him to return, but because you proved you could stand without him. And in that strength, he realizes he doesn't want to be without you. Love without desperation is the kind of love that breathes, that grows, that lasts. The problem is, when someone pulls away, desperation is often the first thing that takes over. The fear of losing them grips your heart, and suddenly, every action, every word, every thought revolves around how to get them back. But desperation doesn't feel like love to the person on the other end. It feels like pressure, it feels like control, and it makes them run further. What pulls them back is when they sense that your love is real, but never desperate. Desperation shows up in subtle ways. It's in the constant texts, the late night calls, the endless need for reassurance. It's in the way you adjust your boundaries to accommodate their absence, the way you silence your pain just to keep them near. It's the energy of, I'll do anything to not lose you, even if that means losing yourself. And while that comes from a place of deep affection, it doesn't inspire love. It suffocates it. Because love is supposed to be a choice, not an obligation. When someone feels your desperation, they don't feel chosen, they feel trapped. On the other hand, when you can love without desperation, everything changes. It means your heart is open, but your dignity is intact. It means you can express care, but you never chase. It means you can miss him, but you still live fully. That balance is what makes love magnetic. Because when he feels your love but doesn't feel your fear, he starts to see you differently. He feels safe with you, not smothered by you. He sees that your love is not an attempt to fill a void. It's an extension of a life that is already full. Think about when you first connected. He was drawn to the way you made him feel, not because you begged for his presence, but because your energy was light, joyful, alive. You didn't approach him from a place of desperation. You approached him from curiosity, excitement, confidence. That's what created the spark. But when desperation creeps in, it replaces all of that with heaviness. It's no longer about sharing love. It becomes about clinging to love. And that shift is what makes someone feel like pulling away is the only escape. Love without desperation is powerful because it communicates something silently. I want you, but I don't need you to survive. That is the kind of energy that makes someone lean in. It gives them the freedom to choose you again and again, rather than feeling obligated to stay. And the truth is, he won't come back until he feels that freedom. He won't come back until he senses that your love is steady, but not suffocating, strong but not needy. To love without desperation is to show restraint where your heart wants to rush. It's to hold your ground when fear tells you to chase. It's to prove, with your actions, that you will never beg for the very thing you deserve freely. It's not about being cold or indifferent. It's about being rooted in the belief that real love doesn't have to be forced. When he sees that, he begins to feel the difference between someone who is afraid to lose him and someone who chooses him with confidence. And choice is far more powerful than fear. When you show him that your love doesn't demand, doesn't beg, doesn't lose itself in desperation. You remind him of the very thing that made him fall for you, the purity of love that felt free. That kind of love is irresistible because it gives both of you room to breathe, to grow, to return not out of need, but out of genuine desire. And that is the kind of love worth coming back to. Your energy decides his return more than anything you say or do. People often think it's the words that convince someone to come back, the heartfelt messages, the long explanations of love, or the promises of change. But words without energy behind them are empty, and energy is what he truly feels when he thinks about you. He won't come back if your energy is desperate, heavy, or needy. He comes back when your energy is light, magnetic, and grounded in self-respect. Energy is invisible, yet undeniable. You can send a single text, and the energy behind it is either, I need you to validate me, or I am complete with or without you, but I'd love to share my world with you. He feels that difference without you saying it outright. If your tone, your actions, your presence carry anxiety and fear, he feels drained. But if your energy radiates calmness, strength, and confidence, he feels drawn in. That pull isn't something you can fake. It comes from truly knowing your worth. When you chase, when you beg, when you adjust your entire life around him, the energy you give off is one of lack. It says, I don't believe I'm enough without you. And even if he cares for you, that energy pushes him further, because no one wants to feel like the sole source of another person's happiness. It's too heavy, too consuming, and it makes love feel like a burden rather than a choice. But imagine he steps back, and instead of collapsing, you rise. You pour your energy into yourself. You focus on your passions, your friendships, your growth. You radiate peace instead of panic, hope instead of fear. That energy creates curiosity in him. He wonders how you're still shining without him by your side. He remembers the person who once drew him in, not because she needed him, but because her energy made him want to be near her. That shift is what begins to pull him back, often without you lifting a finger. Energy also shows up in silence. If you react to his absence with chaos, checking, calling, demanding, the energy is restless. But if you respond with composure, if your silence speaks of calm self-assurance, it unsettles him in the best way. It makes him think, she's not chasing, she's not breaking, she's standing strong. That kind of energy is what men respect, and respect is the foundation of attraction. It's important to understand that your energy doesn't just affect him, it affects you. When you let fear and desperation dictate your actions, you drain yourself, you lose your own balance. But when you center your energy in love, self-worth, and growth, you feel lighter. You begin to realize that his presence adds to your happiness, but it does not define it. That realization changes the way you carry yourself, and in turn, changes the way he sees you. He won't come back until he feels that your energy is no longer pleading for him, but inviting him. The difference is everything. Pleading energy says, please don't leave me, I need you to feel whole. Inviting energy says, I'm already whole, but I'd love to share my light with you if you choose to return. And no man can ignore the pull of a woman whose energy radiates both strength and warmth. Your energy is the truth behind every action. If it's rooted in fear, it pushes him away. If it's rooted in love for yourself and for life, it pulls him closer. In the end, his decision to return is not about what you say, it's about what he feels when he thinks about you. And that feeling is created by the energy you carry, especially in his absence. Healing is the silent proof that speaks louder than any words you could ever say. When he steps away, there's a part of you that wants to show him how much pain you're in, as if your suffering will remind him of how much he means to you. But pain doesn't pull someone back, strength does. And the strength he notices isn't in pretending you don't care. It's in your ability to take the hurt and transform it into growth. He won't come back until he sees that you are not stuck in the wound, but moving through it with resilience. Healing doesn't mean you no longer feel the ache. It means you've chosen not to let the ache define you. It means instead of spiraling into self-blame or desperation, you choose to nurture yourself, to rebuild your heart, to rediscover the pieces of you that might have gotten lost in the relationship. That act of healing is proof that you are not depending on him to save you, that you are capable of standing, even if your knees shake. And that proof changes everything. When someone pulls away, they often wonder what version of you they'll find if they look back. If what they see is someone broken, bitter, or consumed by the loss, it confirms their decision to stay gone. But if what they see is someone who took the pain and turned it into strength, someone who glows differently because they chose healing instead of destruction, it stirs something inside them. It reminds them of the rare kind of spirit that doesn't crumble under heartbreak but rises above it. Healing is also magnetic because it restores your energy. When you carry unhealed wounds, your energy feels heavy, needy, unsettled. But when you begin to heal even slowly, your energy shifts. You laugh again, you focus on your passions, you reconnect with yourself. That energy is what he feels when he thinks about you. He may not even understand it fully, but he senses the difference. He senses that your strength isn't built on denial, but on courage. And courage is impossible to ignore. It's important to remember that healing is not just for him to notice. It's for you. Because whether or not he comes back, your healing ensures that you are whole again. It ensures that you no longer place your happiness in someone else's hands, but in your own. That self-restoration makes you magnetic to everyone around you, not just him. And paradoxically, it is often when you no longer need him back that he feels the strongest pull to return. Because the healed version of you is the version he fell for, the version that is alive, confident, and radiant. Healing is also a form of quiet boundary. It says, I will not let your absence destroy me. It says, I can love you, but I will also protect me. That quiet declaration is what makes him rethink, because he realizes that while he may have been part of your story, he is not the author of your life. And when a man sees that kind of independence wrapped in love, he understands the depth of what he risks losing. He won't come back until he feels that your love is rooted in strength, not pain. And nothing proves that more clearly than your healing. Your healing shows him that you are capable of living, thriving, and shining without him. And that if he does return, it's not because you couldn't survive, it's because you chose to welcome him back into a life that was already whole. That choice, born from healing, is what makes your love impossible to replace. Love is not proven by how desperately we hold on, but by how courageously we stand when someone steps away. He won't come back because you beg, or because you suffer, or because you lose yourself for him. He comes back when he sees that you never abandoned yourself in the process of loving him. He comes back when your self-worth shines brighter than your fear, when your independence is stronger than your longing, when your boundaries remind him that your love is not endless tolerance, but a rare gift that demands respect. He comes back when he feels the confidence that carries you even in his absence, when he sees that your love is steady but never desperate, when your energy is radiant enough to draw him in without a single word. And above all, he comes back when your healing proves that you can survive, grow,